Getting screamed at simply because you looked at a patch of grass the wrong way is just a normal Tuesday in military basic training. Boot camp is a bizarre factory designed to completely erase your civilian common sense and replace it with hilariously strict, mind-numbing regulations. Today, we are exposing the absolute most ridiculous rules recruits are forced to obey just to survive. 1. The military operates on a deeply flawed timeline universally known as hurry up and wait. You will be violently woken up at an ungodly hour and given exactly 4 minutes to dress, shave, and sprint outside. You run as if a literal bear is chasing you, adrenaline surging through your veins, only to arrive at your destination and stand completely motionless in a line for 3 agonizing hours. 2. The official military barbershop is not a place for a relaxing trim. It is a ruthless, high-speed assembly line of absolute baldness. You do not get to request a stylish fade or chat about the weather. You sit down, and an utterly silent barber obliterates every single follicle on your head in roughly 4 seconds flat using heavy-duty clippers that sound like a lawnmower. Before you can even blink, you are shoved out of the chair and forced to hand over your own cash. 3. You are absolutely not allowed to look around, ever. The legendary command Eyeballs requires recruits to snap their vision straight ahead, locking their gaze onto the back of the skull of the person in front of them. You effectively become a human horse wearing invisible blinders. Even if a flock of flamingos flew past playing jazz instruments, turning your head a single millimeter to witness the spectacle would result in doing push-ups until the sun literally explodes. Curiosity is punished with immediate physical exhaustion. 4. Making your bed stops being a morning chore and transforms into an extreme sport governed by microscopic precision. Recruits must master the art of hospital corners, folding their sheets so tightly and with such exact mathematical angles that a quarter can bounce off the mattress. If a drill instructor finds a single wrinkle, they will happily flip the entire bed over, tossing your meticulously arranged linens across the barracks. 5. Cleaning equipment is intentionally swapped out for the most inefficient tools known to mankind. When it is time to deep clean the barracks, mops and sponges mysteriously vanish. Instead, recruits are handed a single, flimsy toothbrush and ordered to scrub the scuff marks off the floor tiles. The sheer futility of aggressively attacking a massive floor with a tiny piece of plastic bristles will slowly break your spirit. It forces extreme attention to detail while delivering maximum frustration. 6. Guard duty actively extends to absolutely meaningless geographic features. After a heavy rainstorm, a drill sergeant might randomly assign a recruit to stand a highly vigilant guard over a puddle of water. Your sworn duty is to loudly warn anyone who approaches that the puddle is, in fact, wet. You will stand rigidly at attention, saluting passing officers, and aggressively defending a small depression of muddy water. It completely obliterates your civilian pride and rebuilds you into a highly compliant machine. 7. You completely lose the right to use the word I or me. A recruit must refer to themselves exclusively in the third person. If you need to use the restroom, you cannot simply ask to go. You must shout, "This recruit requests permission to speak to drill sergeant," followed by, "This recruit needs to use the latrine." It strips away your individual identity entirely. It is a brilliant psychological trick, but it also makes every conversation sound like you are a medieval peasant addressing an incredibly angry king. 8. You will pay dearly for the sheer incompetence of the guy standing next to you. Mass punishment is the golden rule of basic training. If one recruit forgets to lock their footlocker, the entire platoon will spend the next 2 hours doing burpees in the mud. The military operates on a collective soul system. You quickly realize that your survival depends entirely on the weakest link in the room. 9. Speaking of shaving, every male recruit must drag a razor across their face every single morning, regardless of whether they actually have any facial hair to remove. 18-year-olds with the smooth, hairless cheeks of a cherub are forced to dry shave invisible stubble just to prove they followed the morning routine. The result is an entire barracks full of young men walking around with razor burn and tiny pieces of toilet paper stuck to their chins, all in the name of uniform compliance and hypothetical grooming. 10. The floor is covered in tape, and you will learn to worship it. The command to toe the line means recruits must sprint to a designated strip of tape on the barracks floor and stand with the very tips of their boots touching the edge with surgical accuracy. You cannot cross it, and you cannot be a millimeter short. Drill instructors will inspect the alignment like they are judging an Olympic gymnastics final. The sheer panic induced by perfectly aligning footwear with cheap masking tape is a feeling you never forget. 11. You cannot just casually sneeze or cough like a normal human being. If a tickle hits your throat while standing in formation, you are expected to fight it back with the sheer power of your will. If a sneeze slips out, you might find yourself doing flutter kicks until your core catches fire. It is as if the military believes involuntary bodily functions are a sign of moral weakness. 12. Your issued weapon quickly ceases to be a mere piece of metal and legally becomes your new romantic partner. You eat with your rifle, sleep with it tucked intimately into your sleeping bag, and carry it to the toilet. If you foolishly leave it leaning against a wall. For a split second, instructors will brutally shame you for abandoning your beloved spouse in public. Some careless recruits are even forced to slow dance with their rifles in front of the platoon as a humiliating punishment for their sudden neglect. 13. You will be robbed of your precious sleep to guard absolutely nothing. Welcome to Firewatch. In the dead of night, recruits take turns pacing the perfectly safe, locked, and entirely uneventful barracks just to ensure the building does not spontaneously combust. You walk in endless circles, armed only with a flashlight, fighting off sleep hallucinations while your platoon aggressively snores. Have you ever spent 2 hours staring at a fire extinguisher at 3 in the morning, wondering where your youth went wrong? 14. Drinking water is no longer a choice based on thirst. It is a synchronized, mandatory event. Drill instructors will command you to hydrate, forcing the entire platoon to violently rip out their canteens and chug water simultaneously. To prove you actually drank it all, you then have to hold the open canteen upside down over your completely shaved head. It is essentially an aggressive group water chugging contest where the prize is not passing out from heat exhaustion later in the afternoon. 15. Going to the bathroom is a high-speed tactical operation. You are not afforded the luxury of privacy or time. Instructors will routinely give an entire platoon something absurd like 60 seconds to use the latrine. What follows is a chaotic, frantic mosh pit of panicked recruits aggressively trying to relieve themselves while shouting a countdown. There is zero time to wash hands, use soap, or reflect on the absolute madness. It completely destroys whatever basic bathroom dignity you thought you possessed before enlisting. 16. Walking normally is completely eradicated from your muscle memory. It does not matter if you are crossing the entire base or moving a ridiculously short distance of 10 feet to throw a piece of trash away. You must march. You will find yourself subconsciously squaring your corners, swinging your arms at precisely measured angles, and silently calling cadence in your head just to navigate the room. It turns perfectly normal young adults into wound-up toy soldiers for the absolute most mundane and simple daily tasks. 17. Umbrellas are strictly, unapologetically outlawed for recruits. If a massive, torrential thunderstorm completely rolls in while you are marching across the open base, you will simply accept your wet fate and get absolutely drenched. The military views umbrellas as a hilarious sign of profound physical weakness. You will stand rigidly at attention in a literal monsoon, cold water pouring down your face and filling your heavy boots, pretending the weather does not exist. Why protect yourself from rain when you can just embrace the misery? 18. You might literally have to ask a piece of wood for permission to pass. In some training phases, recruits are forced to sound off to doorways, loudly stating their intentions to an inanimate object before crossing the threshold. It sounds completely unhinged to a civilian. You are a grown adult standing at attention, yelling at a painted door frame. But it flawlessly conditions you to never, ever enter a superior officer's space without aggressively announcing your presence first, no matter how ridiculous you feel doing it. 19. The dessert section in the mess hall is a psychological trap expertly designed to test your willpower and crush your spirit. There might be a glorious array of cake and ice cream sitting right there, but touching it is an act of social suicide. If a drill instructor catches you slipping a piece of pie onto your tray, you will become the center of a very loud, very sweaty universe. You are surrounded by sweets, yet forced to eat dry chicken while silently crying inside and dreaming of sugar. 20. Even the simple act of sitting down in a chair is heavily policed. You cannot just casually slump into a seat. Recruits must stand behind their chairs, pull them out in unison, and sit down only when commanded, keeping their backs completely straight and away from the backrest. You sit perched on the front edge of the seat, hands flat on your knees, staring blankly ahead like an obedient robot. Sitting is supposed to be relaxing, but the military brilliantly turned it into an incredibly painful core workout. 21. Your uniform has plenty of pockets, but putting your hands inside them is a highly illegal offense. The military views hands in pockets as the absolute ultimate sign of laziness, unofficially calling them Air Force gloves. Even if it is freezing cold outside and your fingers are rapidly turning blue, you must let them freeze by your sides. Slipping your hands away for warmth will summon a drill instructor faster than lighting a rescue flare. Why design a uniform with so many pockets if touching them is a crime? 22. Mother Nature will actively attack you, but you are absolutely forbidden from defending yourself. Imagine a massive, bloodthirsty mosquito landing squarely on your nose while standing in formation. You cannot swat it, scratch it, or even flinch. Recruits must remain perfectly still and generously donate their blood to the local insect population while staring straight ahead. Moving a single muscle to flick a bug away is a massive breach of discipline that earns instant physical punishment. Ready to let the bugs feast? 23. Punishments in the military often blur the line between physical exhaustion and pure, unadulterated psychological comedy. If a recruit says something exceptionally stupid, they might be ordered to go outside, find a leaf-bearing plant, and sincerely apologize to it. Why? Because they are foolishly wasting the precious oxygen that the hardworking tree is trying to produce for the planet. Watching a grown adult emotionally seek forgiveness from a nearby pine tree is a surreal, unforgettable experience. 24. You might be ordered to aggressively sweep sunshine off the sidewalk. Yes, literally. If an instructor feels a platoon has too much idle energy, they will hand out brooms and demand that recruits sweep the moving shadows or rays of light off the concrete. You will spend hours frantically chasing sunlight with cheap plastic bristles, deeply questioning your sanity. It is the ultimate exercise in blindly following utterly pointless orders without ever talking back. Would you break character while aggressively sweeping a warm sunbeam? 25. Glancing at a wrist can literally cost you buckets of sweat and tears. If your exhausted eyes naturally drift toward a drill sergeant's watch just to figure out what time of day it is, they will instantly accuse you of the heinous crime of stealing their time. This beautifully twisted military logic dictates that looking at their personal timepiece is an act of blatant disrespect. To pay back this maliciously stolen time, you will immediately drop to the dirt and pump out endless push-ups. 26. The way you fold your underwear becomes a matter of national security. Recruits must roll their socks, shirts, and underwear into tight, perfectly uniform cylinders, often referred to as skivvy rolls. These little fabric burritos must be identical in size, adorned with a specific smile curve at the edge, and stacked precisely in the footlocker. A slightly misshapen sock roll will result in your entire drawer being dumped onto the floor. You will spend hours mastering the origami of men's briefs, deeply questioning your life choices. 27. Losing a piece of essential gear results in a hilariously primitive replacement strategy. If you misplace something important, like a dummy grenade or a canteen, the instructors will not just hand you a new one. Instead, they will scour the ground for a heavy, jagged rock and force you to carry it everywhere. You must treat this useless stone with the utmost respect, guarding it as if your life depends on it. It is a wildly caveman-like solution designed to make you deeply regret your absent-mindedness. 28. Eating is not a time to relax. It is a highly choreographed mechanical operation. During the initial phases of training, recruits are often forced to eat square meals. This means you must sit at a perfect position of attention, bring your fork straight up from the tray, horizontally across to your mouth, and then chew while staring blankly at the wall. You look exactly like a malfunctioning animatronic robot trying to consume mashed potatoes. It is utterly ridiculous to watch, yet strictly enforced to drill discipline into every calorie. 29. Removing hair from your face makes logical sense, but taking a disposable lighter and a sharp razor to your footwear crosses into sheer madness. Recruits are frequently ordered to meticulously burn or shave off the microscopic loose threads hanging from their combat boots, followed by polishing the leather to a blinding mirror shine. You will waste countless hours obsessively grooming an inanimate object that is specifically destined to stomp through heavy mud the very next morning. Why groom boots meant for the dirt? 30. Gravity suddenly requires official paperwork. If a pen, a hat, or a piece of paper slips from your trembling fingers, you absolutely cannot just bend down and pick it up like a normal functioning human. You must immediately snap to attention, lock your eyes forward, and loudly request official permission to recover your dropped item. Until the instructor grants that verbal clearance, your fallen object is dead to you. It beautifully transforms a minor clumsy mistake into a hilariously rigid bureaucratic nightmare. 31. You are fully expected to scream until your vocal cords practically disintegrate. Having a normal, healthy voice by week 2 is considered a massive red flag. If a drill instructor can clearly understand your natural speaking tone, they will instantly assume you are not putting enough heart into your responses. You must project every single word from the deepest pit of your diaphragm until you sound like a chain-smoking frog. Destroying your throat is proof of motivation. Could you yell non-stop for 2 weeks? 32. Receiving mail from home should be a comforting experience, but well-meaning relatives will accidentally turn your life into a living nightmare. If your grandmother sends a letter in a brightly colored envelope or your partner draws a tiny heart on the flap, you are completely doomed. Drill instructors hunt for unusual mail like hungry sharks smelling blood in the water. You will frantically pump out push-ups while sweating profusely simply because your family thought neon pink stationery was a cute idea. 33. You will aggressively stamp your last name onto your own underwear in bold, black permanent ink. Nothing says elite military readiness quite like an entire platoon of grown adults meticulously stenciling their tighty-whities so nobody accidentally steals them in the communal laundry room. The military is utterly terrified of mismatched garments. You will spend agonizing hours ensuring your name is perfectly centered on the waistband. If the stamp is even slightly crooked, you will be heavily reprimanded. 34. Laughing is strictly classified as a catastrophic breakdown of discipline. Drill instructors are incredibly funny, often shouting the most creatively absurd insults ever formulated by the human mind. Yet, if you crack a smile or let out a tiny chuckle, the wrath of the heavens will descend upon you. You must develop a stoic poker face while a man with veins popping out of his neck screams a stand-up comedy routine directly into your ear. It is the hardest try not to laugh challenge on earth. 35. Tossing and turning in your sleep is practically outlawed. In basic training, your bed must remain so perfectly crisp that many recruits choose to sleep entirely on top of their meticulously made blankets. You slide gently into a sleeping bag, or just lay perfectly stiff on your back, hands glued to your sides, terrified of wrinkling the sheets. You essentially practice sleeping like a stiff vampire in a wooden coffin, just to avoid the agonizing chore of remaking the entire bed at the crack of dawn. 36. You thought standing in line was a basic human skill you mastered in kindergarten, but the military vehemently disagrees. Welcome to the infamous nut-to-butt formation. Recruits are required to stand in line so incredibly close to the person in front of them that there is zero airspace between them. It destroys any concept of personal space, allegedly to fit more bodies into a small hallway, but mostly to make everyone deeply uncomfortable. 37. Peanut butter is no longer just a sandwich spread. It transforms into the most powerful, highly illegal currency in the underground basic training economy. During field rations, slipping a tiny plastic packet of peanut butter into your pocket is a severe crime punishable by extreme physical exertion. Yet, hungry recruits will aggressively risk everything to smuggle these golden packets back to the barracks to trade in the dark for extra guard shifts. Would you risk endless push-ups for a bite of peanut butter? 38. Eye contact with an instructor is a dangerous game of visual roulette. If you stare too long, you are aggressively challenging their unquestionable authority and will be punished. But if you immediately look away, you are deemed a coward avoiding their gaze, which also earns you physical punishment. You must somehow master the absolutely impossible art of looking slightly through their forehead to survive. 39. You might actually have to ask your food for permission to eat it. In some highly intense training phases, recruits are forced to loudly state the nutritional value of their meal to the drill instructor before taking a bite. You sit perfectly straight, staring at a piece of dried chicken, and yell about its protein content while the rest of the dining facility watches. It turns the very simple act of caloric intake into a chaotic, loud, and deeply embarrassing academic presentation about basic macronutrients. 40. Getting sick is unofficially treated as a malicious act of treason. If you catch a raging fever or twist an ankle, going to the medical clinic paints a massive, glowing target on your back. You are instantly labeled as weak, a malingerer trying to maliciously skip out on a hard day of training. Recruits will literally try to hide broken bones and violently cough into their pillows at night just to avoid the brutal social stigma of seeking basic medical attention. Have you ever hidden an injury just to fit in? 41. Pointing with a single finger is strictly forbidden. Instructors use the legendary knife hand, a rigid, violently flat palm that slices through the air like a karate chop of doom. It is essentially an aggressively weaponized high five. If an instructor aims a knife hand at your face, your soul instantly leaves your body. You are not allowed to use it yourself, making it a mythical gesture of pure authority. 42. You lose full ownership of your own skin. If a sudden itch strikes your nose during a formation, you must endure it with the stoic silence of a marble statue. Scratching a simple itch is considered an egregious breakdown of military bearing. You will stand perfectly still as a bead of sweat slowly crawls down your forehead and directly into your eyeball, stinging like pure acid. You must embrace the burning agony, proving your mental toughness to an audience of absolutely no one. 43. Even your standard padlock requires extreme physical discipline. When you lock your footlocker, you cannot just spin the dial randomly and walk away. You must zero out the lock, leaving the dial perfectly aligned on a specific number, usually 0. If a drill instructor walks by and sees your locked padlock resting on a random 34, they will treat it as a catastrophic security failure and completely flip your bunk. It is a terrifying level of micromanagement applied to a cheap piece of metal. 44. Breathing oxygen while running is considered entirely optional. Instead, you are mandated to sing loud, highly synchronized cadences while sprinting miles through the dirt. If your lungs are burning and you stop singing to gasp for a sliver of air, you are violently reprimanded for breaking the musical harmony of the platoon. You essentially become a heavily armed, aggressively sweating choir club that never stops jogging. Would you survive a literal marathon where you had to yell song lyrics the whole time? 45. Cleaning supplies are a rare luxury, so recruits turn to culinary alchemy. To get a blinding shine on their brass belt buckles, recruits will aggressively scrub the metal with tiny packets of cheap hot sauce stolen from the mess hall. The vinegar and acidity strip the tarnish away beautifully. Your uniform ends up looking perfectly immaculate, but you spend the rest of the grueling day smelling faintly of spicy tacos. It is an incredibly absurd but highly effective life hack, born from sheer desperation. 46. Sitting down without a chair is an agonizing form of dark magic. Enter the dreaded wall sit. Instructors will order an entire platoon to press their backs against a concrete wall and lower themselves into an invisible chair. You sit there, legs burning with the fire of 1,000 suns, while the instructor casually paces the room, calmly lecturing you about teamwork. It expertly weaponizes basic gravity against your quads until your legs violently shake like a malfunctioning washing machine. 47. You might actually be forced to hold a formal funeral for a deceased insect. If a recruit accidentally steps on a bug while marching, a truly unhinged instructor might halt the entire platoon to officially mourn. You will be ordered to dig a tiny dirt grave, place the crushed beetle inside, and deliver a heartfelt eulogy about its brave sacrifice. It is a hilariously weird psychological game designed to keep you totally off balance. Can you imagine trying to keep a straight face while eulogizing a moth? 48. Stepping on the grass is the ultimate cardinal sin. In the civilian world, a lawn is just a nice place for a picnic. In boot camp, it is holy ground, guarded more fiercely than a nuclear launch code. Recruits must navigate sidewalks at perfect right angles, pivoting like broken robots just to avoid letting a single toe touch the precious green blades. Drill instructors will descend upon you like vengeful deities if you so much as look at the grass wrong. It is as if the lawn is made of explosive landmines. 49. Eating a field ration is basically a competitive extreme sport. You do not get to enjoy the culinary disaster inside the brown plastic bag. You are given roughly 3 minutes to rip open the packaging, violently shove the lukewarm chili mac down your throat, and completely hide the trash. There is no casual chewing. You swallow it all whole like an angry pelican. The ultimate goal is to consume 3,000 calories of chemically preserved food before your brain even registers what is happening. Okay, we have covered 49 rules, and there is only one final point left. But before we get to number 50, it is time for the final verdict. In our opinion, the award for the absolute most unbelievable rule from today's list goes to guarding the puddle of water. Simply because the sheer absurdity of a grown adult violently defending wet dirt perfectly captures the absolute madness of military logic. Do you agree with our verdict? Or did another point deserve this dubious honor? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And now, our final number. 50. The second your foot touches the pavement off the arrival bus, your civilian life instantly evaporates. You are not politely greeted. You are aggressively ambushed. Drill instructors swarm the bus like angry hornets, screaming at decibels that defy human biology. You are ordered to sprint blindly, following contradictory commands while frantically clutching your bags. It is a beautifully orchestrated theater of pure chaos designed to violently shock your system and welcome you to the absolute madness of basic training survival. Boot camp is a masterclass in breaking human logic to build absolute discipline. It turns the mundane into the terrifying. But here is the real question. Are these ridiculous mental games actually creating stronger soldiers, or just traumatizing teenagers for no reason? Drop your fiercest opinions in the comments. If you loved this sheer madness, hit subscribe and smash the like button.